Others build harems with the protagonist's aura, but this guy does it purely by skill. On the last day of junior high, the protagonist Rentaro confessed 100 times and was rejected 100 times. He earned the nickname Love Warrior. Rentaro has been obsessed with romance since birth, always dreaming of love but constantly failing. His friends can't understand why. Rentaro is handsome, excels in academics and sports, and is extremely popular. Why does every confession end in rejection? His friends are puzzled, supportive, but eventually they leave. Rentaro turns to praying for divine intervention and surprisingly meets a real deity. The deity tells Rentaro that in high school, he will definitely meet his true love. They will fall for each other instantly, but while the girl will fall head over heels immediately, the boy will grow to love her over time. It seems Rentaro might have saved the earth in a past life, because he has not one but 100 soulmates in this life. Rentaro smiles. If you're lying, I'll really burn down the shrine. A month later, Rentaro smoothly transitions to high school and bumps into two beautiful girls on his first day. Just as the deity said, the moment they meet, it's like a dramatic scene from a movie. Both girls are instantly smitten with Rentaro. As Rentaro gets up to apologize and reaches out to help them, the girls immediately showcase their acting skills. "Ah, I accidentally twisted my ankle." Rentaro is shaken with guilt, thinking, "Oh no, I've actually hurt my destined one." They say tears are the best dowry a man can have, and the girls are utterly captivated by him. At that moment, another girl also became anxious. "Humph, I didn't sprain my ankle just so you would help me. It turns out there's also a tsundere beauty here." Rentaro, feeling guilty, punched himself several times, frightening the girls who quickly tried to stop him. This eventually turned into a 1 versus 2 situation with Rentaro, who felt he was the happiest lamppost in the world at that moment. Both girls, Karani and Hikari, turned out to be classmates with Rentaro in high school class 1-4. Hearing from a passerby that there was a love clover in the school garden that could guarantee a successful confession if found, the pain in their feet and backs suddenly vanished, and they rushed out to look for it. After Rentaro spent 4 hours helping a teacher look for lost contact lenses on the ground, he turned around to find the girls still searching for the clover in the courtyard. Rentaro quickly went to help them with drinks in hand. The tsundere Karane shyly accepted a drink and fled the scene, while the proactive Hikari had a clever idea. Claiming she couldn't finish the drink by herself, she attempted to share it with him, aiming for an indirect kiss. A sly plan indeed. However, when she actually took the half-filled drink, her hands trembled with excitement, causing the drink to drop to the ground. A blessing in disguise, Rentaro thought, handing her a handkerchief. Unexpectedly, Hikari took the chance to confess, marking Rentaro's first time being confessed to. He was moved to tears but shocked Karani, who returned with a bunch of drinks. "Why did you run ahead when we came together?" she demanded. Then, the tsundere made a straightforward confession, a real game changer. Faced with passionate confessions from two stunning beauties, Rentaro couldn't cope, but he couldn't just give a direct answer either. So, he said the answer would be revealed after the commercial break. The gods told Rentaro that soulmates are indeed made for each other. It's normal for Rentaro to have a hard time choosing, as typically, a person has only one fated partner. However, when Rentaro was born, the gods were distracted by a TV drama, accidentally allocating Rentaro 100 destined partners during an exciting scene. Excited, they shouted 100% and connected Rentaro with 100 red threads. Worse yet, if a destined partner doesn't end up with their significant other, they will die due to fate's design. Shocked, Rentaro realized choosing one might kill the other. He then came up with a defiant idea. Children make choices. Adults take everything. He initially thought of secretly dating both, but reconsidered because the girls' confessions were sincere and sneaking around would be unfair. So, he asked both to date him at the same time. This way, neither had to die, and he swore to make both happy. Initially, the idea seemed absurd to the girls, but Rentaro then pulled out 2 love clovers. He had asked his teacher to let him into the school the previous night, and after a whole night of searching, he emerged covered in mud. He wasn't just showing his sincerity, but also thought the girls might appreciate such a romantic gesture, especially since they earnestly searched for the clovers the day before. Rentaro felt compelled to fully reciprocate their feelings. Overwhelmed, Hikari and Karane swooned and accepted his proposal to date him together. and Rentaro promised to make them happy. However, with 98 other fated partners left, was Rentaro really prepared to juggle 100 relationships? The day after confessing, Rentaro went to school with his 2 girlfriends and happily held their hands, one tsundere, one proactive. Rentaro was completely under their control, and all 3 felt incredibly happy. Hikari even took the initiative to let Rentaro call her by her first name. Seeing how close Rentaro and Hikari were getting, Karani thought, "This boy is disrupting my rhythm?" In a moment of tension, she called out Rentaro's name and he immediately understood her intention. Thus, the 3 started jokingly calling each other Jack, Ross, and Steven. As they walked into school like they were calling roll, they saw the disciplinarian head teacher catching a boy running in the corridor. The 3 watched as the usually strict teacher pinned down the boy and kissed him wildly, creating a very intense scene. Hikari shyly asked Rentaro if he had ever kissed, and to her surprise, learned it was still his first kiss. Both girls then set their sights on it. During lunch break, while Karane was distracted by a cat, Hikari took the chance to feed Rentaro a homemade lunch. Soon after, Karane also brought out some cookies she baked. The cookies were so delicious that Rentaro was drooling. Hikari then pulled an even bolder move by breaking the bottom of a Pocky stick and feeding it to Rentaro mouth to mouth, seizing the chance to aim for his first kiss. Seeing the situation turning against her, Karane also picked up a stick, but accidentally poked Rentaro's other eye again. The 2 competed openly and secretly for Rentaro's first kiss, and Rentaro finally realized the issue at hand. He immediately proposed a good solution, as he had finally gotten girlfriends and would do anything to make them both happy. The best solution was for none of the 3 to know who was kissed first. This way, there would be no dispute over the order. For example, they could all wear blindfolds and headphones, then swap places. Rentaro, with his back to the girls, would shake a die then, still blindfolded, step forward to kiss. Afterward, he would go back to his original spot with his back still turned, letting the girls swap places again. At that point, none of them would know who was kissed first, making it their first kiss. However, this greatly tested their secrecy agreement. Yet this method made it hard to judge distances. Rentaro reached out and touched something he shouldn't have, immediately confirming it wasn't Karan. So, they blindfolded themselves again for a second round. But then, a breeze blew, attracting a rooftop cat to the bow on Karane's underwear. The cat started scratching at the bow, and Karan, thinking it was Rentaro behaving inappropriately, kicked out in embarrassment, nearly crippling him. It was only when her headphones fell off that she realized it was the cat. After that, none of their kissing attempts succeeded. Rentaro even nearly fell off the building. All 3 collapsed in frustration on the rooftop. Was kissing always this hard? The 2 girls started arguing again. Rentaro couldn't bear to see them fight, blaming himself for everything. He thought it was all because his first kiss was still intact, so Rentaro decided to sacrifice his first kiss. He started running wildly in the corridor, loudly calling for the head teacher, ready to give his first kiss to the head teacher. This way, there would no longer be any issue of order when kissing his 2 girlfriends. How else could he manage to date 2 beautiful girls? At that moment, the head teacher already had a fierce look, but for her boyfriend's integrity, Karane desperately chased after him. Hikari also shouted from outside the door, "A teacher is harassing a student." Thinking she could not afford to lose her job as she needed to save money to go abroad and meet male models, the head teacher let Rentaro go. Rentaro honestly shared his thoughts, and the 2 girls were very considerate. If Rentaro's first kiss were to be taken by someone he didn't like, they would rather give it to each other. Although they were competitors, both felt the other was sincere towards Rentaro. Moved, Rentaro hugged his 2 girlfriends. Finally, Rentaro made a final decision. The 3 of them would kiss together. Now, it wasn't just about kissing Rentaro. The 2 girlfriends were also kissing each other. The 3 held hands and kissed on the rooftop. This scene looked more like teenagers calling for UFOs rather than being in love. However, they all successfully claimed each other's first kiss. Afterwards, Hikari and Karani started looking up recipes to make snacks and lunches for Rentaro. Meanwhile, while flipping through books, Rentaro encountered his 3rd true love, who also fell for him at first sight. Shizuka always felt her destiny was pre-written until she met Rentaro in the library. Once Rentaro felt his heart race, he knew she was his 3rd true love. Shizuka, a bit shy, didn't dare to speak and communicated by pointing to lines in books. Rentaro noticed her library committee badge on her arm and thought the librarian enforced silence, so he started using sign language. Shizuka told Rentaro that talking was allowed. She was just not good at it. She even offered to find someone else to help communicate. Rentaro quickly reassured her, saying he understood her and was looking for a novel, preferably a romance. Shizuka happily gathered a stack of books for him, worried Rentaro might find it difficult to choose. Rentaro said he would take them all, but library rules limited the number of books he could borrow. Seeing his dilemma, Shizuka handed him a romance novel she had recently read. Rentaro immediately started reading the book at home. It told a tale of a princess and a knight who faced many challenges in their love, crossing social boundaries, but ultimately forced into an arranged marriage with a neighboring country. The knight refused to accept his fate, which deeply moved Rentaro. However, the first volume ended there, reminding Rentaro of his own predicament with 100 lovers. The next day, he went back to borrow the second volume from Shizuka. Feeling it was inappropriate to keep borrowing without giving something in return, Rentaro offered to buy her a drink as compensation. Meanwhile, Hikari and Karani were still focused on their recipes, completely unaware of the potential threat to their relationship. While Rentaro and Shizuka were discussing the plot of a novel, Shizuka revealed she had been studying this novel since childhood and knew it in great detail. Rentaro complimented her expertise, but he felt something was missing, so he borrowed the first part of the novel again. Shizuka was surprised but pleased, and even the library manager noticed her good mood. Shizuka waited for Rentaro to come back and borrow more books, but he didn't show up for 3 days. Feeling disappointed, she saw Rentaro flirting with Hikari and Karane in the corridor and realized he already had partners and probably no time to read the book she provided. Shizuka remembered how she was mocked for communicating through books and called odd by her family, since not everyone had the time to listen to her. When Shizuka was feeling down, Rentaro came looking for her. He wanted to repay her kindness for lending him books and sent her an app. It was an electronic version of her favorite novel, with a feature that played audio for any selected text. Rentaro had spent several nights developing this voice-enabled app, carefully entering the novel's content. This would help Shizuka communicate with others while looking them in the eyes. Although Rentaro didn't know why Shizuka struggled to speak openly, he never pressured her and always found ways to communicate. This child indeed was someone with 100 love stories. Shizuka, unable to control her emotions, used the app to confess her feelings to Rentaro. She acknowledged that he had other partners and wasn't pressuring him to accept her, but simply wanted to express her feelings. Rentaro also realized his affection for Shizuka. It wasn't that Shizuka would die if he didn't date her, but he couldn't ignore such deep feelings from her. Rentaro responded that he liked her too. Shizuka said they were not fated to be together, but Rentaro chose to defy fate and asked if she would date him. He then shared his feelings with the other two. Karani doubted Rentaro's sanity, but Hikari was deeply moved that Rentaro didn't intend to leave them after falling for another girl. Karani nearly had all three committed to a psychiatric hospital. Rentaro insisted he was not falling out of love with them, but that his heart was big enough to love each equally. He promised to prove by his actions that he would love them even more than before. If he failed, he joked about committing seppuku, an overly dramatic gesture. The three of them actually accepted this arrangement. Hikari and Karan, both having agreeable personalities, were curious about the new love interest. Rentaro understood the cute habits of the three. Shizuka would fidget on her tiptoes as the plot of a novel changed. Hikari would bite her finger when deep in thought, and Karani would twirl her hair around her finger when she felt shy after being praised. The three girls felt shy about Rentaro always paying attention to them. Shizuka, learning they had already kissed, felt a bit envious but was too shy to speak up. Rentaro told her to take things at her own pace and to speak up when she truly felt like kissing him. However, a relationship with 4 people was somewhat crowded. Hikari and Karane, being more outgoing, would compete for Rentaro's attention, making it hard for Shizuka to join in the conversation. Rentaro, sensing this, was prepared and pulled out a deck of cards to play a game where the winner could tickle the loser. All 3 girls were eager to have Rentaro tickle them. After the first round, Karani ended up last, earning a tickling session from Rentaro. Despite really wanting it, she stubbornly resisted saying so, which looked rather awkward. In the second round, it was Hikari's turn, and she was very proactive, almost making the scene unshowable. The third round finally came to Shizuka. Though shy, she was visibly excited and used the subtitles to express her feelings even as she felt ticklish. Rentaro tickled all three girls, but Hikari and Karan were already planning their next move on Rentaro. However, the winner of this round was Shizuka. Unsure how to tickle, she chose to poke instead. Rentaro seemed to enjoy it, and Hikari felt she might be losing to Shizuka in cuteness. While Rentaro was in the restroom, Karani suddenly spoke up. She noticed that Shizuka was holding back because of them, even though Shizuka also wanted to be close to Rentaro. Karani felt it was unfair for Shizuka to restrain herself just to consider their feelings, as Shizuka was genuinely one of Rentaro's girlfriends. Shizuka then shared her own thoughts. She described Hikari as dignified, gentle, beautiful, and considerate, and Karani as bold and very cute. Shizuka feared that if she acted like them, Rentaro might compare her to them, and she would come up short. Her words made Karani and Hikari feel sympathetic. Shizuka admitted she felt less popular due to being petite and introverted. However, Karani reassured her that she was very cute, and her quiet, gentle nature was a strength. Hikari agreed, encouraging Shizuka not to hold back and to express her feelings for Rentaro openly. They also told Shizuka to call them by their names without any formal titles. Rentaro, watching from outside the door, was deeply moved by their harmony. This was his plan, to foster open and honest communication among them. Seeing it happen, Rentaro was moved to tears, overwhelmed by how wonderful his girlfriends were. When Rentaro returned to the rooftop, Hikari and Karani suggested that Shizuka touch Rentaro again. Encouraged by their gentleness, Shizuka gathered the courage to express her feelings and asked Rentaro for a kiss. Rentaro was happy, causing Shizuka to blush and pout cutely. Rentaro, charmed by her, subconsciously stroked her head, and they successfully shared a kiss, leaving Shizuka momentarily overwhelmed. Hikari then expressed her own feelings, and Rentaro responded to her kiss request as well. Hikari was worried she wasn't as cute as Shizuka, but Rentaro earnestly countered, stating there was no comparison needed. He told them each had their own charm, and he felt like the luckiest person in the world. Rentaro's gaze then turned to Karane, aware of her tsundere nature. Though Karane acted indifferent, her body leaned towards Rentaro. When he complimented her cuteness, Karane, embarrassed and annoyed, playfully punched him, but they too successfully shared a kiss. Rentaro reflected on his good fortune, making me feel a bit jealous of his luck. When the exam results were posted, Rentaro went back to the classroom to get his phone and encountered AI, who was alone. In that moment of eye contact, they confirmed she was the fourth destined love. Rentaro invited AI to check the results together, but she found it meaningless. Rentaro checked the results board alone. His three girlfriends all did well, ranking above his 88th position. AI, however, was the top student in the grade, with perfect scores in all subjects. Karani had heard rumors that AI excelled at everything, and that her true identity might actually be AI. During a lab class, Rentaro and AI were paired together. Unlike Hikari and the others, AI was a classical beauty whose looks could shame the moon. However, as Rentaro got closer to her, he noticed that she focused more on textbook content than the actual experiments, believing that replicating experiments already done by predecessors was unnecessary. Rentaro ended up cutting onions by himself and accidentally cut his hand. He intended to go to the nurse, but AI stopped him and took his injured finger into her mouth, claiming saliva could disinfect. As her tongue touched his finger, Rentaro was overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the other three girlfriends were deeply engrossed in their research, unaware that the fourth competitor had already made her move. However, AI was difficult to communicate with. She was very rule-bound, finding both conversation and experiments pointless. From her interactions with Rentaro, it was evident that AI had never communicated with others and seemed not to understand or value happiness. It was even unclear if she had feelings for him, which made Rentaro wonder. In reality, AI was very moved. If she didn't have feelings for Rentaro, she wouldn't have disinfected his wound. To calm herself, she furiously wrote out pie at home, but still couldn't soothe her racing heart. The next afternoon, AI confessed to Rentaro. He was happy but surprised when AI said she wanted to hear him reject her. However, Rentaro didn't react as expected, so AI rejected him herself and expressed her desire to end the relationship. AI believed that romance only led to marriage and having children, both of which were unnecessary for her at the moment, and considered them a waste of time. She firmly stated she would never date Rentaro. Rentaro responded that he had been rejected 100 times, and AI's rejection wouldn't deter his romantic spirit. He was serious about his feelings for AI. Inside, AI was delighted, though she appeared indifferent. Rentaro suggested they go on a date, and AI couldn't refuse. A few days later, they went to an amusement park together. He hoped to make AI feel joy. They started with the carousel, and Rentaro took photos of AI, which she couldn't understand. She showed no fear at the haunted house, while Rentaro was quite scared. The spinning teacups seemed pointless to her and only made her dizzy. Walking through a maze felt like a waste of time. Finally, they rode the Ferris wheel together. Rentaro noticed AI's hands trembling, realizing she might be afraid of heights. After getting her consent, he sat next to her. AI instinctively grabbed Rentaro's sleeve, and he firmly held her hand. After they came down from the Ferris wheel, Rentaro showed her the Polaroid photos, which showed AI looking quite happy. AI admitted she did feel happy, but it seemed meaningless to her. Rentaro sighed, thinking AI didn't want to keep the photos. He took out a lighter to burn them. As the flame touched a corner of a photo, she instinctively grabbed it. Rentaro explained that AI was actually afraid of losing something valuable to her. That's why he pretended to burn the photos, to make her realize that happiness is about cherishing the moment and builds over time. AI had an epiphany, confessed again to Rentaro, and asked to date him to learn how to live happily. After receiving Rentaro's response, AI kissed him decisively, seeking a simple and direct connection. They left the amusement park hand in hand. The next day, the three girlfriends welcomed the fourth member to their love alliance. Karani had no energy to comment. Hikari was just glad not to be dumped. And Shizuka, being a newcomer herself, naturally did not object. The three were envious of the trip to the amusement park. AI suggested they could go again, so they all agreed to visit a water park the upcoming weekend. Since they were going to the water park, Karane started picking out swimsuits, hoping to impress Rentaro. On the day of the outing, Shizuka and the others appeared in different swimsuits, making Rentaro feel his life was complete. Shizuka was worried her school swimsuit might embarrass them, but Rentaro praised its fresh appeal. Karani then showed up wearing a cape over her swimsuit, raising concerns about her health. She mentioned feeling cold, and Shizuka offered to rest with her on the sun loungers. Karani insisted she was fine and encouraged Rentaro and the others to enjoy themselves. Shizuka floated around in a swimming ring, while AI saw the pool as a chance to learn about drowning prevention. Hikari, very direct, pretended to be swept by the current to Rentaro's side and hugged him, causing him to blush. AI then grabbed his hand and pressed it against her chest, escalating the directness. The two girlfriends began to compete physically, leading to chaos in the pool. They decided to perform CPR on Rentaro, which looked more like taking advantage. While they administered CPR, Shizuka drifted further away. She noticed too late that her swimming ring had a hole and had floated to the shore, away from any acquaintances. Meanwhile, Rentaro was breathless. The two girls decided to find a male lifeguard for help, but encountered 3 harassers on the way. AI intervened, stopping a harasser from molesting Hikari. To buy time for Hikari to find a lifeguard, AI chose to stay and distract the harassers. Hikari didn't want AI to face this danger alone, but AI argued that Hikari being in a longer relationship with Rentaro meant his grief would be greater if she were harmed. However, Hikari disagreed, stating they wouldn't entangle with these harassers. As the harassers reached towards Hikari, the situation intensified. Rentaro suddenly sat up from his near-death state, declaring he would never let anyone bully his girlfriends. The leader of the harassers, fearing conflict, told Rentaro to take his girlfriend away. Surprisingly, Rentaro stated that both of the women were his girlfriends. The harasser then challenged them to kiss right there, hoping to make Rentaro uncomfortable. However, AI and Hikari willingly kissed Rentaro, shocking the harassers who thought they were insane. They criticized the young people's view on love as too strange and declared they didn't want shameless women. Enraged, Rentaro retorted, "You jerk, who are you calling shameless?" Hikari quickly restrained him. Rentaro's sudden revival was because Karane, realizing Hikari and AI were being harassed, found Rentaro lying on the ground. As she approached to help, she mentioned the danger to Hikari and AI, which instantly revived Rentaro. He rushed over to help and seriously told AI that while protecting Hikari was reliable, he didn't want AI to face danger either. AI was moved. Meanwhile, Karani noticed Shizuka was missing. Rentaro sensed something was wrong and started searching around the pool. At that moment, Shizuka was using her phone to call for help, but it ran out of battery. Tearful yet hearing Rentaro's voice, she knew her own voice was too soft, but gathered the courage to cry for help. Her voice was barely audible, but Rentaro still caught it amid the noisy crowd and immediately located Shizuka stranded in the middle of the pool. Touched, Shizuka held his hand, and he carried her to the shore. In her joy, she kissed Rentaro. Rentaro escorted his 3 girlfriends to the shore and told them to rest while he stayed in the pool with Karane. He mentioned that Karani seemed focused on Hikari and AI's busts and guessed her concerns. Rentaro reassured her that Hikari and AI just developed earlier and that Karani and Shizuka's figures were normal. However, Karani felt that Shizuka was naturally petite and cute, and she lacked feminine charm herself. Rentaro asked Karani to stand up and suddenly lifted her cape. Although Karani slapped him a few times, Rentaro was stunned and instinctively complimented her beauty, making Karani blush. Rentaro hugged her, telling her that his heart raced because of her, and in his eyes, her charm was unmatched. Karani didn't need to compare herself to others. They shared a kiss, and the group of 5 successfully reunited, completing their pool date. That day, the 4 girlfriends took Rentaro to try a limited-time pancake. As they passed by the chemistry classroom, Rentaro locked eyes with a beautiful girl inside. His 5th fated encounter had arrived. The next day, Rentaro decisively headed to the chemistry classroom to find her, but didn't see the beautiful girl. Instead, he met a red-haired little girl named Kusuri. Kusuri gave Rentaro a new drug she had developed and had him sit and watch as she casually mentioned a potion so powerful it could kick Newton's coffin lid open. She claimed it could increase the iron in the blood, turning a person into a magnet. Rentaro became a test subject and after drinking it, found he could indeed attract objects. Kusuri also drank a corresponding potion and ended up stuck to Rentaro. Then, he learned 2 pieces of bad news. First, the drug would cause constipation for 3 days. Second, he had to stay glued to Kusuri for 10 minutes. Unfortunately, Kusuri now needed to use the restroom, though she had wisely worn a diaper. Kusuri loved researching various drugs with bizarre effects, such as shrinking adults or changing genders. Not unlike APTX 4869. Rentaro even joked, "Are you part of the Black Organization?" As they discussed her glowing passion for pharmaceuticals, Rentaro found himself surprisingly attracted to her. Kusuri then revealed that Rentaro must be attracted to her because she had slipped a love potion into his tea. She confessed her love for him, believing that the drugged Rentaro would not reject her. However, Rentaro immediately vomited and declared he wanted to expel the drug, shocking Kusuri. Despite this, Rentaro insisted he wanted to face Kusuri with genuine feelings. Following the incident, Rentaro had an adverse reaction to the drug. Kusuri had no choice but to administer the antidote mouth-to-mouth. She thought Rentaro would no longer be charmed by her, but he confessed he still found her cute. This meant the adverse reaction was due to Rentaro's genuine feelings for her, which caused resistance to the drug's effects. Kusuri then asked Rentaro to date her again. Before he could respond, she suddenly grew larger, revealing herself to be the beautiful woman he saw the previous day. It turned out that her childlike appearance was a side effect of a drug she had developed, and she was actually a 3rd-year senior. The transformation into a child was because it gave her clearer vision. Rentaro agreed to date Kusuri. She was thrilled and went to meet his other 4 girlfriends, bringing gifts. She offered a potion to Karan to increase her bust size and improve her personality, and another to make Hikari more attractive. Hikari eagerly drank it, but it caused her clothes to dissolve due to sweat, creating an unintended type of allure. Rentaro quickly gave her his sports clothes, which Hikari gratefully wore. Shizuka drank a potion that grew rabbit ears on her, making her look incredibly cute and docile. Overwhelmed by her cuteness, Rentaro begged for mercy and gave her a neck massage, which she found very soothing. Another potion could turn AI's hair into hands for a bondage play, but it had the side effect of causing baldness. AI believed Rentaro wouldn't mind her bald, but knowing he loved her hair, she refused the potion. Kusuri mentioned her dream of opening a pharmaceutical lab and had prepared tea for everyone, dividing it into portions for males and females. She then hurried off to the restroom. Hikari and the others assumed the larger bottle was for multiple people but didn't realize Kusuri had sorted the tea by color. The tea intended for Rentaro contained a drug that would make a person want to kiss their beloved, as Kusuri wanted to kiss Rentaro. Rentaro said he would kiss her even without the potion. Just as they were about to kiss, the other 4 girlfriends, who had accidentally drunk the potion, prepared to pounce on Rentaro. Kusuri realized she had messed up. The potion greatly amplified the girls' desires, making them uncontrollably crave kisses. If Rentaro got caught by them, he would be trapped in an endless cycle of kisses. Rentaro initially thought this wasn't so bad, but learned that without an antidote, the girls would be under the potion's influence forever. Therefore, Rentaro decided to stall for time to allow Kusuri to develop an antidote. Faced with 4 girlfriends turned kissing maniacs, Kusuri and Rentaro started a frantic escape. Kusuri pulled out a corrosive contact drug from her pocket, but unexpectedly encountered the charging head teacher. Startled, Kusuri spilled the drug, but it was blocked by the head teacher's foundation makeup, which had been meticulously applied over 2 hours, nearly breaking Kusuri's resolve. Meanwhile, the 4 girlfriends began to encircle them from different directions. To buy Kusuri time to prepare the antidote, Rentaro deliberately drew Shizuka, who was chasing him. He knew Shizuka didn't have much stamina but underestimated his own protective instincts. When he saw Shizuka fall, he immediately rushed to carry her to the nurse's office. Although he treated her wounds, he was overwhelmed by her kisses, which left him unable to speak and nearly succumbed. However, to prevent her from completely losing herself, Rentaro managed to escape and left Shizuka hanging on a coat rack. As he left the nurse's office, he encountered Hikari and Karane teaming up. Their coordination was impeccable, knocking Rentaro off his feet and kissing him dizzy. However, they soon started arguing again. Seizing the moment, Rentaro remembered that despite their frequent quarrels, these two had a fondness for each other. He pushed their heads together, prompting them to kiss each other. As the drug's effect was to kiss their beloved, and since they genuinely liked each other, they began passionately kissing. Rentaro used this chance to escape. He had just reached the chemistry classroom when he realized AI was already there. He quickly hid in a cabinet but found Kusuri also hiding there. It turned out AI had anticipated Kusuri and Rentaro's collaboration and had come to intercept Kusuri first. AI, the top student of her grade, remained sharp even under the influence of drugs. If Rentaro tried to escape then, AI would realize he was buying time and would still seek out Kusuri. Kusuri felt she had ruined everything. She had always loved researching drugs, but often got too absorbed, causing trouble for those around her. She thought she had troubled Rentaro this time too, and declared she would no longer develop drugs. Before Rentaro could respond, Kusuri found an antidote in her bag. He thought she would give it to AI and then enter the lab to create more antidotes. However, Kusuri drank it herself, returning to her adult form to avoid being recognized by AI. But her poor acting and accidental revelation of her name led to AI tying her up. Rentaro had to distract AI, who burst in and pinned him down for a series of intense kisses, leaving him blushing and breathless. Fortunately, his sacrifice allowed Kusuri, who had not fully consumed the antidote and reverted to her child form, to develop a detoxifier that restored Hikari and the others. Hikari and Karane, recalling their frenzied kissing, tried to pretend it never happened. Then, Kusuri tearfully apologized to everyone, blaming herself for their ordeal. Rentaro comforted her, saying her success in creating the antidote was redemptive. He encouraged her not to give up her dream of studying pharmaceuticals, expressing that her passionate pursuit of her dream was what he cherished most about her as her boyfriend. Touched, Kusuri kissed Rentaro gratefully. This weekend, Rentaro and his group were invited by Hikari to a famous dating spot, Hanazono. Coincidentally, a bouquet catching event was taking place in the park, where catching a bouquet allowed participants to try on a bridal gown from the flower park and take commemorative photos with their partner. Everyone was instantly fired up, especially since this had been a childhood dream of Hikari's. However, Rentaro's group wasn't the only one aiming to catch the bouquet. A local gang leader was also in the competition. Therefore, Rentaro and his friends decided to team up to grab the bouquet, planning to draw lots afterward to decide who would wear the wedding dress. Shizuka, being small and worried about getting hurt, was assigned to cheer from the sidelines. Kusuri took her medicine to revert to her adult form. It was announced that violence was prohibited during the bouquet toss. However, the person throwing the bouquet was the head teacher, a former shot-put athlete, who threw at a great distance. Meanwhile, the gang leader, while pretending to discipline her team members, used the chaos to knock out other competitors. Kurani saw this and immediately joined the gang leader's fray. However, the bouquet was swept away by a gust created by one of the gang leader's subordinates. Unexpectedly, Shizuka, who was cheering with a towel on the sidelines, was picked up by the wind due to her small size and caught the bouquet midair. She fell but was bounced back up by the group, who cushioned her fall with their bodies. Rentaro slid in to catch Shizuka, and Kurane felt relieved she had been fighting with the gang leader. Otherwise, she would have been too sad to be just part of the rescue team. Hikari had actually orchestrated everything. She knew today's competition would be tough, which is why she united everyone to participate and suggested a draw beforehand. She had tampered with the draw by marking one of the lots, intending for AI to draw first. She planned to place the red lot last, knowing AI would likely pick the first one due to her preference for speed. However, AI proposed that everyone draw together. Fortunately, Hikari ended up drawing the red lot, but Kusuri also wanted to take wedding photos. Feeling guilty about her manipulation, Hikari was ready to give up her chance. However, Kusuri claimed she was just being petulant and insisted that since everyone loved Rentaro and Hikari had won the draw, she should not give up her spot. Eventually, they all took a group photo together. Hikari thanked Rentaro, sharing that taking wedding photos with someone she loved had been her lifelong dream. But then, unexpectedly, she asked Rentaro to break up with her. Rentaro was stunned and planned to seek clarification after changing clothes, only to find out Hikari had already left by car and was unreachable. Remembering a photo Hikari had sent him with an address on the back, Rentaro followed it to her home and discovered that Hikari was from a wealthy family. Her mother had learned about Rentaro's relationships with Hikari and the other girls and thought the situation was absurd. Despite Hikari's claims of happiness, her mother forced them to break up and had Hikari confined and transferred to another school. Hikari expressed to Rentaro that they might never see each other again. At that moment, Hikari's mother appeared behind her and threatened Rentaro over the phone, warning him not to see her daughter again. Otherwise, she would make Rentaro disappear to a place where Hikari could never find him. To prevent her mother from making Rentaro physically vanish through her wealth, Hikari reluctantly agreed to her mother's terms for breaking up. Her mother, deeply fond of Hikari, refused to let a man who was involved with 5 women lead her daughter astray. Rentaro was driven away by security and felt utterly powerless, but he was not ready to give up. He explained the situation to his other 4 girlfriends and declared his plan to sneak into Hikari's house at night, possibly eloping with her. He promised the other girls that he would return to them one day. Kurani stated she wouldn't just wait around for Rentaro. She wanted to join him in his quest to find Hikari. If they were going to run, she insisted they run together. The other 3 girlfriends also decided to join the escapade. 2 people elope, but 5 of you? It sounds more like a team-building trip, they joked. The 5 of them were set to embark on this adventure together. The group snuck into Hikari's house at night, using the fountain to mask their footsteps. They initially planned to throw a ball at the window to get Hikari's attention, but a pet cat took it instead. Fortunately, the cat also distracted the security guards. AI, noting the presence of the cat, found a small cat flap at the entrance. She used her fingernails to flick stones and open the door from the inside, injuring her nails in the process. The group quickly bandaged AI's injuries. Initially, AI claimed she was just repaying a favor to Hikari, but later admitted she just wanted to save her. However, as soon as they entered the house, they encountered the wealthy family's dog. To avoid being bitten, the group retreated, but Shizuka's legs gave out. Her frail appearance, combined with her unwillingness to burden the others by pretending to be dead, triggered the dog's protective instincts, so it did not attack her. Kusuri took the opportunity to give Shizuka a bottle of medicine that was supposed to make any creature that drank it fall asleep instantly. Shizuka took a sip, and the curious dog licked it too and immediately passed out. Kusuri's antidote woke Shizuka, and the group continued their infiltration. Then, a kitten ran inside, triggering the indoor infrared sensors and attracting the security guards. Luckily, Rentaro and the others hid behind a door and avoided being caught. Without infrared glasses, they couldn't proceed, but Kusuri pulled out eye drops that allowed them to see infrared beams. However, after applying the eye drops, they couldn't see anything except the infrared beams until the effect wore off. Kurani noticed that the envelope containing the eye drops was labeled with the name of an overseas pharmaceutical lab. It appeared this was a concoction Kusuri had made to fulfill her dream, meant to be mailed out today. However, to help her friends, Kusuri sacrificed her own opportunity because she believed Hikari was a wonderful girl who shouldn't just disappear. However, the infrared beams here were dense, and the walls on both sides were very wide. In the end, Rentaro and Kurani cooperated by supporting each other and stepping on the walls to cross the beams, a feat that would have Newton smashing his coffin lid in disbelief. Kurani scraped her stomach and almost ascended. After successfully crossing the infrared beams, they reached Hikari's door. They planned to take her and leave immediately upon opening the door, but triggered an alarm system instead. Hikari's mother, along with a team of bodyguards, rushed over. AI and the others, unable to cross the infrared beams, had already retreated to the courtyard to wait for a rendezvous. Hikari felt her presence might cause Rentaro to never be able to live freely. Her mother, Hanazono, a super protective mother, had initially refrained from acting against Rentaro because she knew he was Hikari's friend. However, she did not expect Rentaro to come directly to her. Rentaro hoped Hanazono would accept his relationship with Hikari, but Hanazono declared she would never allow such a thing. She revealed that she had Hikari at 13, not because she wanted a child, but because the man she loved was terminally ill and his time was short. To prove her love and leave a token of their affection, the 13-year-old Hanazono gambled on creating a top medical team and chose artificial insemination to conceive Hikari. Sister, why not use the strongest medical team to save your loved one instead? Hanazono admitted that looking back, she had been impulsive, but her daughter was much like her. Once in love, she would do anything for it. She believed that this was the happy life she wanted. However, Hanazono's loved one still passed away, leaving her a widow. Since then, she decided to pour all her love into her daughter, as no one could replace her husband. She did not want her daughter to experience the same life. So when she learned that Hikari was in love with a man who was involved with 5 other women, she thought Rentaro would not bring Hikari happiness. Tears streamed down Rentaro's face as he listened. Heartbroken by the pain Hanazono and Hikari had endured, his tears blurred his vision, but as they cleared, he vowed never to make Hikari sad. As he looked up, he locked eyes with Hanazono, and it felt like fate, a rush of emotion, reminiscent of a long-lost connection. Suddenly, in a moment of impulsive love, Hanazono suggested Rentaro be with her instead. Meanwhile, Hikari was crying in her room, unaware that her mother was confessing to her boyfriend. Kurani was shocked, wondering what nonsense this woman was saying to her daughter's boyfriend. Even more astonishing was that Rentaro seemed flustered by the exchange. Realizing the absurdity of the situation, Hanazono too felt this was not right. Despite everything, Rentaro still expressed his determination never to give up on Hikari. So Hanazono brought out the latest high-tech lie detector to expose any lies from Rentaro. Unfazed, Rentaro declared his feelings for Hikari were true and clear, but first wanted to test if the lie detector was accurate. He had Kurani sit in the chair for a test, which not only revealed her bra size but also pressured her to admit whether she liked Rentaro. Rentaro shyly said Kurani was tsundere, which he found endearing. Kurani admitted she liked Rentaro, but the lie detector indicated she was lying. Rentaro was devastated and metaphorically bled from the shock, forcing Kurani to confess that Rentaro was her absolute favorite person in the world. Only then did the lie detector confirm the truth. Rentaro, fully revived, confidently took the seat to confess his feelings to Kurani. After proving the chair worked, Rentaro boldly took his seat to confess to Hikari. The chair showed no signs of deception. Hanazono couldn't believe it. Someone could truly love multiple people so deeply. She doubted the machine's reliability. Just then, a maid reported that Hikari wanted to jump off the building. Kurani swiftly took Hanazono hostage, giving Rentaro the chance to save Hikari. She trusted that Rentaro would come to rescue her. Rentaro nodded decisively and went to find Hikari. Meanwhile, Hanazono was also anxious to see her daughter. Karani and Hanazono were frantically pulling at each other. Rintaro told Hikari that Karani had Hanazono under control and they could use this chance to escape. Hikari responded that while they could escape for a moment, they couldn't forever. She didn't want Rintaro to live a miserable life because of her, but Rintaro didn't want Hikari to get hurt for his sake either. He confessed his feelings sincerely and passionately, convincing Hikari to stay. However, as Hikari calmed down, fear took over her. As Rintaro tried to comfort and approach her, the trembling Hikari fell from the building. Rintaro grabbed her in time. Karana and Hanazono arrived to see both falling together. Rintaro, in a burst of adrenaline to protect Hikari, rolled off the wall and fell into the deep fountain below, luckily avoiding injury because of the well-constructed fountain. Rintaro pulled Hikari out of the water, declaring he would never leave her. A shocked Karani slapped Hikari when she got downstairs, scolding her for being impulsive, and the three of them cried together in distress. Hanazono asked Rintaro why he jumped too. He replied that he would risk his life to make Hikari happy. Finally, Hanazono realized that Rintaro was sincere. She decided to trust Rintaro with her daughter's care. Rintaro also realized that Hanazono truly loved Hikari, pouring all her love into her daughter after losing her partner. Hoping Hanazono could also find happiness, Rintaro responded to her earlier confession, promising he would ensure both mother and daughter were happy. You rascal! How can you pull this off? Aside from Hikari and Karane, the other three were surprised, but not shocked. Hanazono invited everyone to her mansion for a bath. When people started comparing their figures, Karani decided to leave early. Back in her room, she locked eyes with Rintaro, and they both remembered the incident where they had to walk on the walls, holding each other. Karani realized Rintaro must have noticed when he touched her stomach at that time, so she decided to punish him by rubbing his stomach as a form of retribution. However, for Rintaro, this felt more like a reward. At that moment, Kusuri entered the room, startling Karane and Rintaro into doing push-ups. Meanwhile, Hanazono had gathered the young women of the Love Alliance to change into pajamas. Both Rintaro and Hanazono, who liked cute and pretty girls, were completely charmed. Rintaro helped Hanazono get a drink and told her that the days ahead would be happier. Blushing, Hanazono invited Rintaro to her room, hinting at a significant development for the evening. Hikari and the others waited, but did not see Rintaro and Hanazono return. Concerned that Hanazono might compromise Rintaro's chastity, they heard a strange moan from upstairs and hurried to investigate. They found Rintaro's chastity intact, but his dignity was in question as Hanazono had forcibly dressed him in women's clothing. The other 5 girlfriends were charmed beyond measure, swearing eternal loyalty to Hanazono. Embarrassed, Rintaro fainted. Then Hanazono had AI dress up as a prince, declaring that the fainted princess needed to be awakened with a kiss. Everyone was enchanted by the scene. When Rintaro woke up and removed his wig, he decided to go for a bath. Hikari and her mother, armed with ropes, prepared to peek. The group was persuaded to join, except for Shizuka, who tried to stop them. However, she was locked up by the others who promised to share the benefits with her after they were done. Rintaro had already guessed that the group might try to sneak photos, which he was absolutely against. He had wrapped himself in a towel beforehand. Kusuri, hanging upside down from a window trying to peek, cast a shadow that made Rintaro think he saw a ghost. Realizing her spying was detected, Kusuri quickly had someone pull her up. Rintaro sped up his bathing, unaware that another shadow appeared at the window. Worried about the spying getting out of hand, Shizuka rolled out of her room. Meanwhile, Hanazono and others were looking for a second route to spy, climbing into the ceiling. It was so dark there that the girls mistook a cat for a mouse and shrieked inside the ceiling, startling Rintaro, who thought he saw ghosts again and screamed in the bathhouse. Shizuka reached the staircase but was scared by a dog behind her and rolled out, losing her bindings and rolling straight into the bathroom. Rintaro, hearing the scream, turned around to see what looked like a ghost emerging from the water, which made him collapse in fear. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was Shizuka. His towel fell off just as Shizuka fainted. Rintaro carried Shizuka out of the bathroom and scolded the peeping group. Shizuka remained unconscious, and Rintaro joined Hanazono and the others for a game of poker. Suddenly, Hanazono said she had to leave for something and exited. Rintaro, curious about her expression, followed her and saw Hanazono paying respects at a shrine. Rentaro, who had promised to make Hanazono happy, decided to join in offering incense, only to discover that the person being honored was Hikari's father. Rentaro was always curious. Hanazono was young, beautiful, and wealthy. Surely many must have pursued her. Why had she chosen to remain alone? Hikari revealed she could never forget her ex, who had passed away years ago. She struggled to move on from that relationship, but unexpectedly found herself attracted to Rentaro. She felt terrible about her feelings. However, Rentaro embraced Hanazono, telling her she didn't need to forget her feelings for her ex. He said, "Who says one can't love two people in their lifetime?" He was willing to accept her past, believing that to be true love. As long as the love was honest, it was never false. Hanazono hugged Rentaro and confessed loudly, asking if he would kiss her. It turned out that before her ex passed away, he had told her he couldn't be with her forever, and hoped that if Hanazono found someone she loved in the future, she should kiss that person. Thus, Hanazono had saved her first kiss until now. Without hesitation, Rentaro kissed her. With that, Hanazono felt she could finally let go of her former love. That night, Hikari made a surprise visit to Rentaro's room. Karani noticed and heard Hikari express her fear of being unable to be with Rentaro, so she decided to let Hikari off this time. Late at night, Rentaro woke up groggily and found Hikari and Karani cuddling together. He decided to get up to use the bathroom but encountered Hanazono's ex and Hikari's biological father in the hallway. The ex was a very handsome young man. Seeing Rentaro, the ex was initially angry since both his beloved and his daughter seemed taken by another. He thought about scaring Rentaro, but Rentaro wasn't afraid of him, believing that anyone important to both Hanazono and Hikari couldn't be a bad person. The ex actually appreciated Rentaro for helping Hanazono move past her emotional barriers. Rentaro promised to make both of them happy, and they agreed to protect Hanazono and Hikari together. The ex was so reassured by Rentaro's promise that he felt spiritually relieved. Rentaro woke up in the hallway, unsure if the previous night had been a dream. After a long day, everyone went their separate ways, planning to visit Hikari's house again. To see Rentaro often, Hanazono bought the school he attended and became the principal of Rentaro and his friends. Unbeknownst to her, Rentaro skipped class during lunch break to see her. For his girlfriend, this guy might really be able to save the world.